Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark GOLDBRIDGE and this is your latest Manchester United news and preview for the Arsenal game ahead of something far more important tomorrow, of course, protests and a statement of dissatisfaction from Manchester United fans. But interestingly tonight, there is two new sources talking about Mateta and transfer talks and £40 million. So why is that? Well, I think we all know the real reason we're getting stories about signing a player the night before protests, but does Mateta actually make sense to Manchester United? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the Arsenal game and ask the question, who really cares? And because it's a Saturday night show, I actually want to... Oh God, I felt like I was losing my voice there. I would like to open the floor open as well. We haven't done it for a while. A bit of a Q&A, I suppose, get your thoughts in. But before we get into all of that, as you can see, we're sponsored by Manscaped on the show tonight, and you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. That means you can get delivery for free and an extra 20% off the products by using the code TUS20. If you don't know what Manscaped is by now, it's trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Precision engineering for your family jewels. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger with the lawnmower, but they've also got the beard trimmer as well for here with 20 different lengths that you can use. It's got a light on it, it's waterproof, fantastic products. They've also got the weed whacker for up your nose. They've got the handyman for a handy shave when you're out and about. They've got everything covered at Manscaped. Links in the description. Scan the QR code and get that brilliant 20% off with the code TUS20 and free delivery as well. Thank you very much to Manscaped. Okay, let's get into the show. From Manscaped to Mateta. We've had two stories about Mateta in the last 2 days. It's now coming in from L'Equipe in France, and it's also coming in from the Mirror tonight that Man United have opened talks with Crystal Palace and Mateta about a summer transfer move for £40 million. I will just throw some things out, but I think primarily there's two things I would say as to why we might be doing this, which I'm going to mention in a moment. But also, why are Man United going for a striker that is 28 in the summer when we've already been briefed that we won't go for Osimhen or Gyökeres because they're 26? Make that make sense. Like, the club just doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't know its arse from its elbow. It just doesn't make sense. All I want is a professional football club that I respect. And I don't respect the way this club is run because it constantly confuses itself with what it briefs. And I know when they're briefing, and you know when they're briefing, because certain outlets like The Athletic, like The Telegraph, like the Manchester Evening News, put stories out that they wouldn't put out themselves. And we've been briefed that Gyökeres isn't going to be a Man United target because he's 26. And yet here we are with 4 different stories in 24 hours from 4 different outlets about Mateta. So why are we looking at Mateta? Well, somebody just said it in the chat. Boring Ned. You're not boring Ned. Wages, price. It's all about the price tag. It's all about the wages. His wages at Crystal Palace will not be very much. His transfer fee of 40 million is about 50% less than what you're going to pay for a lot of decent strikers. And also, there's not going to be as much competition for Mateta as there will be for Osimhen, Gyökeres, or even Liam Delap. So what you've got here is what I would describe as option D. And we made this mistake for 10 years. Option A, option B, option C, hey, option D. And that's what it is. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some element of truth. Why would you be doing it early? Because if you jump early on things that people don't want, you'll get it. If you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet and everyone's in the queue for a curry or a Chinese or a roast dinner, and you go and get the toasty queue and no one's there at the moment, you can have whatever toasty you want. And I think this is Man United going for something no one's looking at now and getting to the front of the queue. Now, people might look at Mateta in the summer when Osimhen's gone somewhere and Gyökeres has gone somewhere, and they might go, oh, let's go to Mateta. But we're going for option D straight away. So we're at the front of the queue, we get the deal done, and that's it. But, yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I've got to be honest, I don't get it. I don't think it's, I think it's a little bit underwhelming. However, in the interest of he's not rubbish, in the interest of he's probably better than everything we've got at the moment, is that what Man United should be doing? If you've got a right back that's slightly better than Dalot or better than Dalot, is that what Man United should do? Or should you go for something that's actually decent? Better than what we've got isn't going to get us near Liverpool and Arsenal, is it? Better than what we've got might not get us above Brighton. I think you've got to go for the best you can get. And is it the best you can get? I'm not so sure. But look, 2 reasons why Man United might go for Mateta as well when you look at what they're probably doing. And I think we probably have got a Y-Scout subscription because I've got one and I do my homework. And first thing I would say, Mateta's not had an injury since 2020, according to that. He's not an injury-prone striker. So, yes, he's going to be 28, but he doesn't get many injuries. Also, he's playing for a Premier League side, so he's Premier League proven, but he's also playing for a Premier League side that stereotypically wouldn't be creating loads of chances. It's not Liverpool, it's not Arsenal, it's not Man City, it's Crystal Palace, who, if we're being honest, are a mid to bottom table team, and yet he still scores goals. And more power to his reputation is the fact that this season, when you look at goal conversion, he's actually 4th in the league. Chris Wood, 38%. Isak, 29%, and Bumo, 26%, Mateta, 25%, Haaland, 21%. So he's the 4th best striker in the Premier League this season for goal conversion. And the interesting thing about that is that when it comes to shots per 90, he's not even in the top 10. He actually gets about 1.8 shots per 90, which is pretty much what you'd expect at Manchester United. So, yeah, he does convert quite well. He has scored plenty of goals. And, as well, shots on target, percentage-wise, he is 45%. So, his goal conversion's quite good. And he's a Premier League proven striker. And I think the fact that he doesn't get many injuries... Look, let's be clear. I don't think Ineos or the Glazers know what they're doing. And I think somebody in that boardroom somewhere has gone, he's £40 million, he's one of the best goal conversion strikers in the Premier League, and he does it at Crystal Palace. And his wages are cheap. Tick, 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 tick. And I think that will be it. I think they've literally got a Y-Scout subscription and gone, cheap wages, scores goals in the Premier League, good goal conversion rate, let's do it. The question is, that's statistical. On the eye test, is he going to come to the Premier League and perform? Because I would imagine Lukaku at Everton had very good statistics when we bought him from Everton. Did it work? And that has to be a question as well. Look, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to do a poll about it. I don't think he's a terrible player. I just find it rather underwhelming, if I'm being honest with you. But I'm not going to make the same mistake we made with Guirassy, where you go, I don't want that. And then you go, I would have took that. He is experienced. We do need a striker over 25. So would you go for Delap or would you go for Mateta? Because to be honest with you, where we are as a football club at the moment, beggars can't be choosers. I'd like Gyökeres. I'd like Osimhen. I don't really want Mateta. But where we are as a football club, cheap and not a lot of competition is probably where we're at. A Crystal Palace striker is probably where we're at. Not a Napoli striker who wants Champions League football or a Sporting striker who wants Champions League football. This might be where we're at as a club at the moment. So, look, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But there's more than enough outlets talking about it this evening. So give me your thoughts on that. What I will say is, though, I think we're all accustomed to and long enough in the tooth to sit here cynically and say, night before protests, Man United linked to a transfer. But even if that's true, some people would say, get the tinfoil hat on, that's just ridiculous. And maybe you'd be right. Or would it just be incompetent? Because if Man United are trying to distract us from protests, Mateta of Crystal Palace is a shit choice to do it with. Like, at least do Gyökeres. Like, if tonight we were linked to Gyökeres, I mean, I'm giving him an idea now for the Sunday morning news, but if we were linked to Gyökeres tonight, people would be impressed by that and probably say, oh, I'm not interested in the protest, because that's how naive our fan base can be at times. But Mateta might make people want to protest more, if I'm being honest. Mr. Letter says, I think Mateta is really good, and I feel like Mateta would be less likely to get sucked into player power nonsense, says Nick Harrison. And if you get Jonathan David on a free transfer with low wages, wouldn't it be better than what we have? He can play as an inside forward and a striker, says Jordan. I think that's a great point. I mean, it's about, is better than we have good enough? You know, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you meet somebody on a night out that's better than what you've got, is it the dream? Or is it just better than what you've got? Should you go for the dream? Or you should just go for slight improvement? I think you should go for the dream. You know, I do. But look, it's not about me, and we definitely need to bring a striker in the summer, don't we? I want to get into more of a Q&A because it's Saturday night show, and Saturday night shows, I want them to be something a little bit different like the Friday night show, and I want to go a little bit more freestyle, and I want to get into your comments and go with what you went. We did an amazing show on That's Football this afternoon for the Man City Forest game, and some of the conversation was just brilliant. I mean, not saying it's for a show to bring into the show tonight, but people were talking about like players that you'd forgotten from days gone by. So, you know, like JJ Okocha and Kinkladze and people like that. We're just having a good chat. But one thing that was really good, somebody said, what football club is going to be the biggest grower in the next 5 years? Which football club in the Premier League is going to grow bigger than everybody else? And I was saying, well, based on the last 10 years, Man United have been shite. So the size of our football club, the expectation of our football club over the next 5 years, Man United should be the club that bounces back and grows more than anybody else. But I don't think it will be. I actually said Chelsea, maybe Newcastle or Villa. But, I mean, it should be Manchester United, shouldn't it? I mean, one of the biggest clubs in the world who've been shit for 10 years. Who's going to be the biggest growing club in the next 5 years with new owners? It should be bloody us, but I don't know. I don't know about that. Dennis S. has given us a super chat. Thank you very much for that. We'll definitely read those out. He says, do you think Man United have got the same pull as they once had? I feel like a footballer's career is shorter than before and they want to make the most of it. I don't know, mate. I really don't know that we've got the pull anymore. Let me just say this. When I think about the pull of Manchester United and you look at our last transfer window, Ugarte wasn't wanted by PSG and wasn't wanted by anybody else. De Ligt wasn't really wanted by Bayern Munich and wasn't wanted by anybody else. Good signings, but wasn't really a lot of competition for them. Mazraoui, West Ham or Man United. Xerxes, Milan or Manchester United. Yoro was a good signing. Like, Yoro was a good signing. Real Madrid were interested, but we financially secured that deal. We gave him way more wages than Madrid were going to offer, and we paid way more money to his club than Real Madrid were going to offer. So have we still got the pull to go and get... Look, if we go for Gyökeres and Arsenal, Chelsea and Barcelona want him, probably haven't got the pull, have we? Maybe, but probably not. But if we're not going to go in those races, we don't know. It depends. Are you ready to settle down? I don't think United are ready to settle down yet, says Sky God. Thank you very much for your super chat, mate. I have to mention Arsenal. We do a preview for every single game, and people will be saying, where's the preview? So here it is. Arsenal at Old Trafford tomorrow. Premier League game. Here we go. Who cares? End of preview. I'm sure it has happened. I'm not going to be melodramatic. I'm sure it's happened. I would suspect it's happened towards the end of the Rangnick season, with Ten Hag last season when it wasn't an FA Cup game in April or May, with in the Mourinho season when we were in the Europa League and we played Arsenal at the Emirates, I didn't give a shit. I don't care. That doesn't make me a bad fan. Doesn't make you a bad fan at all. I do not care. I would love this game not to be happening. Now, there are protests tomorrow, and a lot of people would say, how can you play your part? Look, the United Stand socials are massive. We're in contact with a few people. We're saying, if you've got any clips, if you've got any this, that, and the other, send us. Our job is to get that message out there as big as possible. As one of the biggest Man United communities in the world, we know what our job is on the United Stand, and we will be busy tomorrow making sure that everything that's happening goes out where it needs to go. That's the big thing for us tomorrow, 100%. The 58 are the organisation we're getting behind. I would urge everybody to get behind them as well. I know there's been differences. I know there are differences, but these are the people putting their feet on the street, organising a protest. And I think that out there at the moment, they are, and they would admit themselves, not completely perfect, but they are the organisation that is most attuned to how people feel at the moment. So I would urge everybody in whatever way you can to get behind them because they are doing that. And if you're in Manchester tomorrow, the Tollgate pub at 3 o'clock, protesting, marching down to Old Trafford. Share it, let everybody know about it, and let's see what becomes of it, what happens with it. And that's tomorrow is what I think we're all interested in. If that, by some way, shape or form, led to the game being called off, happy days. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not wanting the game to be called off because of the protests. I think it would be a bonus, but I'm not interested in the game anyway. I would like the game to get called off because I don't want any of our... And I have to be absolutely clear here. I want the game called off tomorrow because we've got a game on Thursday. I want the game called off tomorrow because every minute our players have to play tomorrow damages our chances and increases the injury risk for Thursday. This is a game that we just don't need. We have to play it. We can't moan. It's a Premier League weekend. You've got to play a game of football. Arsenal will probably... I mean, look, Arsenal aren't winning the league. You're not winning the league. I'm sorry. So, you know, they'll come to Old Trafford. It's Man United. They'll want to win. They're already 7-1 up from PSV. But we're not. We're not in a good place. And Sociedad at Old Trafford on Thursday is an incredibly big game for us. And if anybody's going to put in a good performance tomorrow, I'd rather they kept it back till Thursday. So I just see tomorrow as an inconvenience. I really just don't... I don't care about the game. I want to win, but if somebody said to me, you can lose the game 2-0 and the players will have 50% more fitness for Thursday, or they can give everything and be knackered for Thursday but beat Arsenal, I'd say don't give everything. And that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous because how many times do we moan at the players for not turning up? But the circumstances are that we didn't strengthen the team in January. We are down to the bare bones and Thursday's a big game. And we need the energy for Thursday. We don't need the energy for tomorrow. The Premier League the Premier League's going to do nothing for us now. And I can't believe... And there's always cause and there's always effect. I can't believe we're in a situation on a Saturday night before an Arsenal game, basically saying, I don't care. You know, I don't care. I don't care, and I'm actually concerned about how bad Maguire's injury is, how bad Agate's injury is, and if they're bad, like... We're on such thin ice if we lose a Yoro, a Dillit, a Mazraoui. I mean, I don't even know what team we're going to pick because Dorgu can't play tomorrow either. Like, Dorgu can't play tomorrow. So someone's got to play left wing back and you've got to get 3 centre-backs out. I mean, Lindelof, I suppose, will play centre-back. Delo will go back to left back, Mazraoui to right back. Who's going to play in the midfield? Casemiro and Bruno. I'd play Obi Martin up front and put Rasmus on the bench because why not? I mean, I'm just looking for ways to give people time off, you know, and that's incredible. Incredible. Minimum staffing, really. Take the 2 days off. So yeah, look, I'll be watching the game. Nothing else to do on Sunday at 4:30, but it's not the game it should be. Man United at Arsenal against Arsenal at Old Trafford should be a big game. It's a hindrance. It really is. It really is. Celts fan says, do you think Onana will go in the summer? No. I think strategically we're going to have to be... I've said it a couple of times about Onana, and I think it's a great point, but I don't see Onana going in the summer. I don't see a buyer. I think his book value is about 35 million. So somebody's got to pay us 35 million just for us to break even on FFP. Anything less and we lose money. We're not going to loan him because we're not going to want to loan more players out for nothing and actually pay them to go. I think the best solution with Onana is to remove Binder and bring in a younger goalkeeper who has the potential to take his spot. The issue with Binder is, and I like him, but I don't think he's a long-term solution. We need a long-term solution to come in, and that for me would be a younger goalkeeper for about 5-10 million quid. I think removing Onana is going to take longer than actually replacing him. Because to replace Onana, you need another 50 million, and we haven't got it. So we're not going to be able to sell him. We haven't got the money to bring in a replacement. So I'd be looking at, and this is where scouting comes in, who's the next Manuel Neuer? Who's the next Alisson? Who's the next Oblak? Who's the next Courtois? There is one. There's probably two. Where are they? How do you get hold of them? And then you bring them in. Maybe Kovar, like Marvin AM says. But we need to. That's where I would go. I would start next season with Onana as the goalkeeper, but I'd have this younger goalkeeper that's going to take his place when he makes the mistakes. Good question from Celts fan. I want to open it up anyway. It's a Saturday night, so do get your questions in. Ray S says, Amrim's first window at Sporting, 25 players left. Yeah, but you know what? I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't think we can learn anything from Sporting's, his first season at Sporting. Sporting and the Premier League are very, very, very different. And we're not going to get rid of 25 players. We probably won't get rid of 10. We don't have the financials to replace them either. So there won't be that much freedom for him to do that. What I will say is that Anthony and Rashford going in January, whilst universally ignored, were quite significant removals. They were both edge of first-team players, if not first-team players, especially in the case of Rashford, and he removed them. So we've seen the ruthlessness from Amorim already. There's no way that Sir Jim Radcliffe said to Amorim when he recruited him, get rid of Rashford and get rid of Anthony. That will be a manager choice. Might not have pleased some of you, but it was. We do need to see more of that. Daniel RDM, thanks for being a member 34 months. Appreciate that. Get your questions in anyway. I was going to circle back to something, but yeah, in relation to score predictions tomorrow, if you want one, I'd take Arsenal 2-0 win now. Obviously, you don't want to get a tonking, but I would put out a word of warning that I don't really understand psychologically how Man United go into this. I don't even know, and I'm never going to be a fan of players that don't turn up. But we talk about fine margins and we talk about percentages. If I feel it, they're going to feel it. If you feel it, they're going to feel it. This game is a massive hindrance. Massive hindrance. And we need energy on Thursday. Look, whoever plays can't be half-hearted. You'll get injured. But I wouldn't be surprised if Man United won, you know. I wouldn't be surprised if we won, but that's just the weirdness of the season, I guess. But Arsenal are a good side, then they'll be up for it. And they could give us a real good hiding, really. They really could. Vitek went on loan to an Australian club, says Malepo. We knocked them out of the FA Cup with 10 men, says Brian. Have we forgotten about protests of tomorrow, says Oddy. The game isn't important. Well, you've only forgotten about them if you tuned into the channel about 5 minutes ago, because it's been mentioned quite extensively in the first 20 minutes of the show. And obviously tomorrow, everyone is entitled to play their part if they want to. I think that, yeah. I mean, look, I don't know what I want to think about that. I don't know. I find, and what I mean by that is I know what I think about it. I'm absolutely fed up of the situation with the club and how it's being run, but I honestly don't know the solution. If there is one, it's very depressing. You can't bake a cake without all the ingredients. Ruben is onto a hiding to nothing, says Kaz. And what about James Trafford at Burnley, says Luke82. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I mean, I trust the scouts on that. I know we've been linked to him a little bit. I mean, he had a bit of a baptism of fire last year in the Premier League, didn't he? But he's a young goalkeeper. I don't know that English goalkeepers are the way forward. I mean, I don't actually think there are many good English goalkeepers anymore. I think we went through a phase where there were, but I don't think over the last 10 years we actually produce goalkeepers that have... And I think I'm not a big fan of possession football, and I think it's slowly dying, but I am a big fan of goalkeepers that are good with their feet and good shot stoppers. I don't think we get many English goalkeepers that are good at both of those. So, I mean, I don't need us to buy an English goalkeeper. If James Trafford is a good ball-playing goalkeeper who's a shot stopper, great. But why not a Colombian goalkeeper? Why not a Swedish goalkeeper? I mean, at the end of the day, it's about scouting, isn't it? They will be out there. Just go and find them. We need to hold this season, says Philippe. Evening, how's it going? Says Damon. I think he's having a chat with somebody else. Anthony Taylor's the referee at the moment for tomorrow. Just on the Mateta versus Delap poll, 46% go with Delap and 54% go with Mateta. It's a little bit unfair what I'm going to say because I've set a poll with two choices. I agree that either of those strikers would be welcome resource-wise, but I don't agree that they're the sort of player that we should be going for. I think we need better. I'm not going to make the mistake of saying neither because that's stupid. What I would say is we should be going for better. If that's what we're going for, that's where we are. But if we want to be where we want to be, we should be going for better than that. Whether we can do or not, I don't know. Do you think we will be able to replace the players out of contract at the end of the season? Free transfer, says Paul 12. Do you think we'll be able to replace the players out of contract at the end of the season? Lindelof, Eriksson. That's a good question, Paul. Well done. I think we look at how we're going to raise money and then how we're going to spend that money. So if you sell Rashford for 40, how do you spend that money? But you could sell Rashford for 40 and replace Lindelof and Eriksson, but not replace Rashford. I mean, the problem with a player leaving on a free transfer is that there's no monetary value other than their wages. And whilst Eriksson's on 150 grand a week and that's 600 grand a month and it's 7 million a year, 7 million's quite significant and you probably wouldn't want to pay that in wages to a new player, but 7 million's not a lot to replace Eriksson, is it? So will we replace Lindelof and Eriksson? I think idealistically you would like to, but they don't generate any funds per se. They generate some wages, but players cost more than £7 million, don't they? So £7 million a year is a significant amount for wages. It's 150 grand a week, and maybe you'd be looking to replace Eriksson with a player on half that. But you're still, all right, you've saved yourself £3.5 million. You're not, who are you going to buy for £3.5 million? So I don't know whether those players will get replaced, actually. And it's probably a good point. Parker says Seb was hilarious, must get it from his mum. Yeah, he was burning me later on in that stream, wasn't he, to be fair? But he's done it before. He was on the charity stream. He gets carried away. James Trafford is really good, says Luke82, coming for corners. He's good at saving penalties too. I'm sure he's a sweeper keeper as well. Well, 3 ticks in the box. 3 ticks in the box. Thanks for your super chat, Paul and Parker as well. Thought it was at 8 o'clock, says Matt. You know why it's not an 8 o'clock show tonight? I just got bored of waiting, and I've got a film ready to watch, and I just thought, sod it, I'll go live at 8:30 and it's 7:30, and I'm not finishing early. We've still got another half an hour. We'll see how it goes. As good as the questions are, I will stay. I'm opening up a bit of a Q&A. It's a big day tomorrow for Manchester United off the pitch. What's going on off the pitch is so important, and I would urge everybody to get behind in what way they can what the 58 are doing tomorrow. And I think a lot of organisations are. One goal. Just keep it really simple. Forget your arguments, forget buts, forget this, that and the other. One goal. Anybody who starts arguing with anybody tomorrow or saying, why aren't you doing this or why aren't you doing that? Do you want the Glazers out? Yes. One goal. That's the focus tomorrow. Just go with that. It's as simple as that. Would you want Jordan Pickford, says Dan Mann? I'd rather have Jordan from our fan forum, to be honest with you. In your opinion, Mark, what year did United stop competing, says Jan? Many people would say when Sir Alex Ferguson left. I still think we were capable of competing for a couple of years after that. I think Moyes was just a crap appointment, but it didn't kill us. I think Van Gaal didn't do as well as he could have done, but it didn't kill us. I think the day we died, actually, was the day we sacked Jose Mourinho and let player power win. We were dying, but I think the day we died was when we sacked Mourinho, because we let player power win. I mean, you look at Mourinho, first season, Carabao Cup, Europa League. Second season, second in the league. Third season, gone by Christmas. You can't say we stopped competing the day that Sir Alex Ferguson left, because second in the league, 2 trophies, ain't bad, but that was the point where you needed to kick on and do things correctly, and we chose player power, and that's when I think the club died, because we messed up. But that was the day where I think we stopped competing, because we let something win that we shouldn't have let win. But I blame the Glazers for that. I mean, the Glazers were saying no to Mourinho about everything. We should play the reserves and focus on the Europa League, says Parker. I do not agree with that. I do not believe that we have the quality of young player to play in a game against Arsenal tomorrow without humiliating them. If we had a reserve team that could play against Arsenal and hold them to a 2-0 loss, I would do it. And I think Amrin would do it. But he hasn't got a reserve team. He's got a bunch of kids. And if he puts a bunch of kids against Arsenal, they will get beat ridiculously. And you will burn their careers, and you will hold a terrible result. Amorim is more than happy to throw 17-year-olds in. He did it at Sporting. But he clearly doesn't feel that a lot of these players are ready at the moment. And you can't just chuck them in and burn them in a game like that. We can't. We're in this situation because of the owners. We haven't got a squad big enough. The recruitment, the lack of recruitment, we are in the position where we don't have a bench, so we cannot rotate. Like the bench tomorrow, I can't even see what the bench is tomorrow. Lindelof will be required. Maybe Eriksen is on the bench tomorrow. As a senior player, maybe Eriksen. That's it. Like that there won't be, that there is no rotation. There is no rotation. Genuine question, how do we go about getting a game cancelled, says Tom. Well, I wouldn't be saying it here, because the live chat has ears, and United do monitor, so I wouldn't be saying it here. But I'm not party to any information about a game getting cancelled tomorrow. I don't want people to get excited. I would like the game to be cancelled, because I don't want us to play the game tomorrow and get injuries or tired. I want to be fresh for Thursday. I don't have any information that that's going to happen, and I wouldn't expect it to be happening. If you wanted to get the game called off because you want to play on Thursday, as Haj says, you could say there's been a bout of food poisoning throughout your squad. But that didn't stop Spurs having to play Arsenal all those years ago, did it? So, look, I think people know how to get a game cancelled, but it's not really the place to say it, is it? Somebody just asked me what film you're watching tonight. You know what? I might go classic. I saw it was on Amazon Prime, and I haven't seen it in years, and it's a very good film. And it's obviously been put on Prime because Gene Hackman's died, but I quite like. I'm thinking Unforgiven or probably Mississippi Burning. I think it's a very good film. Good question from Paul. Thank you very much for your super chat. Peace. Del, I want to just go back to something. I know I mentioned it at the start of the video. I was on That's Football today, and there were some really good conversations going on. And somebody said, who do you think is going to be the club that blows up the most in the next 5 to 10 years? I.e., they're going to have the most grow over the next 5 to 10 years. Because when you look at it, there could be anybody really. Man City have had their time. Are Liverpool going to do it for the next 5 years? Could Arsenal finally do it? Will Chelsea come off the rails? Will Newcastle get the money in? Could it be an Aston Villa? I think all those teams I've just mentioned there are debate points, but this is the United stand. How confident are you that Man United are going to be the club over the next 5 to 10 years that finds its way back, considering we've had 10 years in the sewer? And that's the thing. We're such a big club. We're such a big name. We have such a big fan base. And yet, I have got no confidence that we will be a club in the next 5 years, 10 years, that is the club that bounces back and grows up. And that's incredible. I actually think, in many ways, it's harder to fail at Man United than it is to succeed. I think we have so many things in our favour that would mean it's easier to be successful than to be unsuccessful. But as we know, we're hindered massively by who runs us. Do you think the demo will get the mainstream cover? Says Adnan. I think it's really difficult to predict the mainstream. I think you're talking about the protests and how much mainstream coverage it will get. I remember watching Match of the Day on the evening of the Liverpool game that got called off after protests, and we got mainstream coverage, but they called United fans hooligans. Jermaine Genius on Match of the Day said, I don't understand why they're protesting against the Glazers. The Glazers have spent loads of money. And that's just soul destroying, isn't it, when you get that sort of coverage on the mainstream? We had it this week from Simon Stone when Steve from the 58 went on, and he tried to ridicule him on lies. So you never know which way the mainstream can't be trusted. They can't be trusted, and they change their opinion like the weather. I don't think the mainstream are actually needed. I mean, I think it might be quite a liberating thing to say, and maybe people haven't realised it. I personally don't think the mainstream are needed. I think they're hanging on by their fingernails to some power that they used to have. I don't think they are that relevant. I think they still have access to weapons that we wish we had, in the sense that they are big media organisations, legacy organisations, but I don't think they're as influential anymore. I really don't. And I don't think it really matters what they do unless you let yourself get convinced by them or manipulated by them. I don't think it really matters. You know, if Sky Sports run a story tomorrow saying Man United fans defy the Glazers and are fuming and it's amazing what they're doing, will it really make the Glazers sit up and take any notice? I don't think it will. I think the way to hurt the Glazers is in the pocket. And I think we all know that. I heard somebody saying the other day that, hopefully they'll sit up and listen and talk to us. I don't want them to talk to us. I don't think the 58 want them to talk to them, really. I think that, it's past that. I think it's get out. Simple as that. Malik United, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do you think sacking Ten Hag was the worst decision Ineos made considering the timing of it? I'm not saying he didn't need to go, but it felt reactionary. I think in hindsight, they shouldn't have done it. But at the time, I think it was inevitable. I'm not going to be a hypocrite about that. I think in hindsight, it was stupid. Like, we'd have been better off sticking with it till Christmas and then seeing where we were. And then at Christmas, seeing if we could get to the summer and then bring Amorim in. But at the time, if we're being completely honest, certain sections of our fan base were hysterical, and the media were baying for blood. So I think that he was on the thinnest of ice, and this is the problem about the cycle. You can look at it. I think sacking Mourinho was a mistake, but at the time, it was very much the same as Ten Hag. It had been building for weeks. The media were demanding it. Some fans were demanding it. And you can't take yourself, you can't not go back to that situation and say it was a mistake because we lived it. It was a mistake to sack Mourinho. It was a mistake. But at the time, it was inevitable. And maybe it was a mistake to sack Ten Hag when we did. But at the time, it was inevitable. And you've got to look at why it was inevitable and say, warning signs for this manager, let's not put ourselves in that position again. Because the whirlwind starts and it's hard to stop it. I've heard of too big to lose, but United have shown me you can be too big to win, says Sunny777. Thank you very much for your super chat. Thank you very much to John as well. Mourinho does know what Amorim is capable of, says Philippe. The fact Ten Hag even expected to be parting ways after the FA Cup, says Horn. Fans can be stupid, changing their minds like their undies, says Manny. And hindsight is a great thing, says Paul's Gaming Live. But we have made the mistake with how many managers now, though, says Paul's Gaming Live. Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be having a conversation about Amorim and Amorim leaving. That fundamentally, that to me is a big mistake. I'm watching the Everton match. Beto is genuinely more threatening than any of our forwards. Don't link us to Beto, please. Upper 90 for FC. He was absolutely shit until Moyes came in. I don't want Beto. No thanks. Mateta will only go to Old Trafford if United overpay again, and he has no shame, says Jan. And the problem with the mainstream is it's all about sensationalism now. It's repetitive and boring once you spot their game, says Upper 90 FC. Yeah. I mean, I don't intend to speak about that too much, but 1 week, a certain ex-player, podcast, radio station, TV station will say one thing, and then next week, on the same topic, they will say something completely different. I've played the game. We've seen it. It's a strange old world out there. I just think you need to educate yourself on it and see it for what it is. I see it for what it is. I think many people do see it what it for is. It's a game. I don't think fundamentally, I don't think they really care. I think communities like this care. I think Man United fans in the main care. And then you've got people who talk about Man United who really don't care. They just go from one to another topic, over-sensationalise it for their own benefit. And I think that's the game, isn't it? But look, I'm not going to be an arsehole about it. They're not Man United fans. They're run by people that look at something and go, how do we make money out of this? How do we increase interest in this? Say this. The cycle of Manchester United, if they can predict it, probably pays their wages. Like, new manager. Oh, yeah, Amorim's the next Mourinho. He's amazing. Oh, Amorim. He's going to make Man United great again. Oh, Amorim. Oh, players aren't so sure. Oh, results aren't so good. Oh, players aren't that happy. Oh, results aren't that good. Oh, it's not his fault. Don't care. Keep talking about that. Oh, much longer can this go on? He hasn't had a pre-season or any transfers. Shut up. Oh, you know, there's another manager in town. Oh, you know, and the cycle. We talk about the cycle. We talk about the cycle for years. And Amorim is along that cycle. And we can observe it and say this is bullshit, or we can jump on the cycle and start going, and yes, certain United fans already are, Amorim ain't it. I'm telling you now, Amorim ain't it. Well, what are you telling me? Mark, I see a 2 to 3 year rebuild, says Manny. Thanks for your super chat. Mateta would be a cheap leadership role for the up-and-coming strikers for now. A cheap asset for Ruben. He needs these types. We must build. We can't just buy quality. Manny, I respect what you're saying, but I have to make my position clear. I don't agree. I don't agree, but I understand why you do. You are looking at the situation inflicted on you by Ineos and the Glazers and going, this is just the way it is. And that's a credible personality trait, that you're looking at it and going, this is what we got to do in the situation that we're in. I look at it and go, why do we have to put up with this? I didn't want this. Why do I have to go, this is the way it's going to be for a few years. We're going to have to buy cheap. We're going to have to buy players that ultimately aren't going to take us back because this is it. This is the thing, isn't it? I don't accept this is it. I didn't ask for this. I think it's unacceptable. I don't accept that we've got to do things on the cheap and take years and years just because Ineos and the Glazers are working towards 5 to 10 years' time where they can cash out having made fucking loads of money out of a regeneration project. We're a football club, not a business. I don't accept that. I understand why you do. I understand you're looking at it literally and going, this is the situation. But I don't accept the situation. I don't see why we should accept the situation. I don't remember asking for this situation. And ultimately, we're in this situation because the Glazers were bailed out by Ineos. The day I sit back and accept that is the day I accept that that was a good thing that happened to the football club, and I don't accept it. So, but I understand what you're saying, but I don't accept that. I don't think it's acceptable that we are cutting costs and doing things on the cheap. I don't accept it. I don't see any other club doing it. Efi says the mistake started when we sacked Van Gaal after winning the FA Cup. In hindsight, the bad decision started there. I agree with Jose sacking was inevitable. I disagree with this. I'm a hypocrite. I'll get caught. Some people have been watching the channel for nearly 10 years. I was Van Gaal out. It's the only manager I went early on, actually. Ollie, I was late. Mourinho, I was late. Ten Hag, I was late. But Van Gaal, I'll always hold my hands up and say, I went really early. Christmas, I was Van Gaal out. And it's probably the most hardest time to support Man United when you've decided you don't like the manager. Because when you say Van Gaal out, and then you've got 4.5 months of games, it's a head mess. Because you're like, I don't want this manager. And I've said I don't want this manager. And now, but I want us to win. And I think that, for me, I wasn't used to it. Nothing to do with YouTube or the United Stand. Having had Sir Alex Ferguson, who I completely trusted all my life. And then David Moyes got fucked off quite quickly. I think with Van Gaal, I got a little bit confused. And I was like, this is not the right guy. But I said Van Gaal out. And we didn't sack him for another 5 months. And I was like, I don't ever want to be in that position again where I'm going early on a manager. I don't like it. I don't like being early. I'd rather be late. It just works better for me. Even if I had my doubts, I'd rather be 100% sure. And I would never go early on a manager again. I hated it. But I wasn't wrong. Doesn't mean you're wrong if you go early. I just didn't like going early. But no, I don't think we made a mistake with Van Gaal. I thought he was an absolute joke, actually, at the end. I thought he was a prat. And I thought Mourinho was 100% the right choice over Van Gaal. I think he did well to win the FA Cup, but I don't think he was the right guy. I really don't. And I don't see that. I don't see that as a mistake. I see sacking Mourinho as a mistake. But at the time, I didn't realise because we didn't know with Mourinho. We didn't know about player power with Mourinho. We found out afterwards, and that was why it was a mistake. Glazers or Mike Ashley, who is worse, says the more you know. I don't really know enough about Newcastle to know, really, if I'm being honest. Mark, have you noticed that there are still thousands of tickets left for the Arsenal game? Seems like thousands of fans are realising it's a dead rubber game and begging for Wi-Fi. Mate, I don't blame people. And the more this happens, the better. I don't blame people. Now, I know that if I said to Seb, do you want to go and watch Man United play? He'd be like, yeah. But I wouldn't take him to a game like that. It's a shit game. It's got absolutely nothing on it. And the club need to wake up for that, because if your plan over the next 5 years is to focus on a regeneration project and tick over, they're going to realise very quickly that you won't get 75,000 fans every week for the next 5 years with nothing to focus on. And it could be worse next year, because next year there's no European football to cling on to. We could be very much out of a top 5 race very, very quickly, out of the Carabao Cup very quickly, and the FA Cup is not going to sustain interest however long you're in it. So I think it's great that people are losing interest, because I think it's been taken for granted by this football club for too long that we always get 75,000 and we always fill the ground. But you won't. You won't get it when there's apathy. You won't get it when people are like, what's the point? And that's what I said. That's what I'm saying about the Arsenal game. Arsenal at Old Trafford against Man United is an easy sell, apart from the fact that it's not. Who genuinely cares about this game tomorrow? Nothing ever lasts forever, and don't take fans for granted. So I think it's great. I think even Sociedad, I was reading that there's a lot of tickets available for. And that's a game that's got something on it. I've heard of, thank you very much, I'm begging for Wi-Fi anyway, very good point. Ipswich are probably going down. Would you take Delap on loan and Wheatley going the other way, says Daz. I don't think we'll go for Delap on loan. I don't think Ipswich would want to do that. I think they want to cash in. Bruno and Xerxes will be saved for Thursday. Our midfield will be Collier, Casemiro with Ericsson and Garnacho in the 10, says Manny. I'll do a little bet with you, Manny. I guarantee you Bruno will start tomorrow. I don't see Bruno being rested for any game. I really don't think Bruno will get rested. Agrim says, hi Mark, good evening. I believe United might need a season of no European football just to get them back to winning ways in the Premier League. Any other competition would be utter distraction to fix a team like this, says Agrim. I disagree. I don't know whether I'm accurate in saying this, but Chelsea under Pochettino didn't have any European football and were shit. I think it's a myth that not having European football and having time on the training ground all week makes you a better team. I don't think it necessarily does. It doesn't matter how much time you have on the training ground. Amorim had time on the training ground in February and we were still shit. If he hasn't got the right players, you're polishing a turd. I agree with you that if we had the right squad and more training, then we might be better at the weekends. But yeah, I don't agree that no European football is going to be a good thing for this football club. I think it would be a bad thing for this football club. Patrick Lynch says the regeneration project is ironic with all the cost cutting and sacking 50% of their lower paid workforce, says Patrick Lynch. LZ1U21 says, do you prefer a team with or without wingers? This team with Xerxes, Rashford and Ahmad would do well with overlapping players like Mazraoui or Dorgu. Trying to figure this one out. I don't think fundamentally you understand what Amorim's trying to do though. I mean, Rashford, Xerxes and Ahmad in the central roles and then two fullbacks in the wide roles. It's not really what Amorim's about. I think you're basically trying to build a team without wingers when wingers fundamentally are very important in his system. Sometimes they play out wide. Sometimes he can play 4 and play 2 in behind a striker. I think pace and intensity is really important, and we lack it. I don't think Marcus Rashford suits Amorim's system. I think we've seen that already. Marcus Rashford is a left winger in a front 3. He's not an internal 10. So I'd count him out. Xerxes doing very well. Ahmad looked very good. I don't think Dorgu and Mazraoui as the wide players is sufficient. I think you've got to have more creativity going forward. Now, Dorgu's a work in progress, and I don't think Mazraoui is creative enough going forward. So, no, I think we need to bring wingers in. I don't think we have the right profile. I don't think we've got many players that fit the profile of what Amorim needs, which begs the question, what was the plan with Ineos? And we keep coming back to it. Was Ineos's plan, he's a good manager, he'll be good at Man United, when it should have been, he's a good manager, but we'll need to spend a lot of money to give him the right players? And that's the scary thing, isn't it, really? Mark, why is Amorim sounding like he's going to get the sack? Says Jude. Well, look, we spoke about this on Monday. Monday, he said, it's going to take time. The plan is for the future. I might not be part of that. And then Friday, he said that he doesn't think he'll get a lot of time, like Arteta. So, yeah, I mean, look, we don't know. Amorim knows more than what we know. We know it's really bad at the football club. It could be worse. If he's an intelligent guy and it's really bad, he probably knows it's inevitable he's going to get the sack. I'm sure we've all worked at places where we want it to work out, but it's been run so badly, you know it's not going to. I've worked at places where I knew it was going to go go down, no matter what I tried to do. But look, we can't sit here projecting failure on the club, predicting failure on the club, and then moan at a manager that's saying, I might not be here, Would Angel Gomez be a good choice, says Paul? Well, he's a free transfer in the summer, which makes him very attractive because he's free. But as we've said before, free transfers don't necessarily work out well because you have to pay big wages. And we've kept Christian Eriksen at this club 18 months longer than we should have done because he's priced out of a move anywhere. So be wary of the free transfer. What you save in transfer fee, you kill yourself on wages because you give them a wage that they're probably not worth. And if they don't work out, you then can't sell them. So you've got to be careful of that. John says, do you think the club has forced fans to settle accepting a long rebuild, even though we're always rebuilding? Says John. I think it's ironic that we've spent 10 years rebuilding the club at massive expense. And now they're asking us to do another 10 years with the same people, really. Patrick Lynch says, done that one from there as well. Appreciate that. Yeah, good points. Gomez would help us in midfield. He progresses the ball well, says Marvin AM. Look, I would have to research Gomez. I would want to look at his injury history. I've said it before. I don't think the injury problem's gone away. I just think it's I think so much happens in this fan base where people get used to it. Like Luke Shaw, people are just used to the fact that he doesn't play football. It's disgusting, but people have got used to it. Apathy. Not doing any business incoming in the January transfer window beyond Dorgu was disgusting, but we're used to it because it happens every January. There's so much that happens in this club that we get used to. Suppression. And this is why the Glazers survive. But the injuries from last year haven't massively changed. We have a horrendous injury record again. But people don't really talk about it because they're used to it. So I think when you're buying players, you've got to look at injury. Like, I'm actually a little bit concerned about Ahmad because for the last 2 seasons, he's missed half of it. Is he going to put in a full season next year? I don't know. So when I look at a signing, and as I mentioned, Mateta's got quite a good injury record. If Angel Gomez is picking up a couple of injuries per season for the last 3 years, I'm probably saying no thank you. I cannot afford players with a question mark around fitness because I've already got a squad riddled with it. So Ruben should use the bench tomorrow, says OTG. Give some of the young players game time experience so we can rest some of the squad for the Europa game. I mean, I've answered this question. I'll answer it again. What bench are you talking about? You're basically talking about giving 6 or 7 teenagers a debut against one of the best teams in Europe. And then when they get spanked 7 or 8-0, you can take responsibility for that. It's incredible to me that people think that that's a good idea. Let's go and burn a load of people in their debut against one of Europe's best teams, damage the rest of their career, take a ridiculously big beating. You can't do that. Surely you wouldn't do that. It's not fair. It's not fair to do that. Mark, the dream isn't always the reality, says John. Very deep. Anything else? I think we're going to have to pick a lot of the first teamers tomorrow. I think we're going to have to. And then we're just going to have to hope that we've got enough. But you know what? We play Arsenal tomorrow. We play Sociedad on Thursday. We've got a game on Sunday against Leicester. Away, I think. Or it might be at home. I can't remember. We seem to play Leicester at home every week. So yeah, you know, the intensity of what we're being asked to do is incredible. And you know what? This is the preview, Elias. We did it. It's basically who cares. Look at our injury record at the moment, and I'll definitely miss players out. You've got Johnny Evans, you've got Harry Maguire, you've got Martinez, you've got Luke Shaw, you've got Agate, you've got Mainu, you've got Ahmad, you've got Mount. Who else is injured? There's got to be more than that. You've got Anthony and Rashford that didn't get replaced. I mean, it's an incredible amount of injuries that we've got at the moment. Binder as well is injured as well. So it's an incredible amount of injuries. And we haven't really got, we've probably got 20 players, 23, 24 players, and 12 of them are injured or out. It's not enough, is it? Not enough. Will Heaven and Heaven I would probably play, to be honest, because he's had a bit of a sniff. And Obi Martin I'd probably play because they've had a sniff. But beyond those two, I don't really think I would be looking at anything else. Will Amrim save Heaven and Cheeto from their old club and not give them game time? I think Manny, they've got to be involved tomorrow. They have to be involved tomorrow. Anyway, look, I'm going to go and watch a film. Tomorrow we have Man United's game and protests. So make sure if you're on socials tomorrow, you're sharing as much as you can. You can play your part. And obviously, if you're at the game tomorrow, you can play your part as well, as I know thousands of you are going to. And remember, it's one message. Don't get into arguments. Don't start saying I'm better than you. One message. You can disagree on everything. But if you want the Glazers out, that's the message tomorrow. Time for a bit of maturity in the fan base. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care, stay safe. Thanks for all your questions tonight. We don't get to do that as often as I would like. I would like to do it more. Don't forget Manscaped. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Get 20% off and free shipping worldwide. Enjoy the film, says AJ Tills. Looking forward to seeing you next week on Wednesday as well, mate. I'm going to need to read your email. I will check it out. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit.